The snake is eating its own tail. I think that's definitely where we've got to. Culture is kind of retreading a lot of the same paths and recycling a lot of the same material. And yes, there are new things that come out, and you can see interesting careers of artists and filmmakers and creators who are creating new stuff, and you can see their progress from one project to another. But there's this phenomenon in culture where, as you're progressing, you keep changing and evolving and making progress until you reach a point where you're no longer making progress at all. You're just recircling the same path. You're not ploughing a new path, you're just retreading the same ground. And I think we've seen it with Star Wars, we've seen it with the Marvel superheroes. These things started out as kind of very niche subcultures, and then they became very popular because they did their thing very well. They made these amazing sci-fi, fantasy, space opera films with Star Wars. They made these amazing superhero films with Marvel that really connected with people on a human level, and people really resonated with the stories and enjoyed the films. They were actually good. They weren't just cheesy trash entertainment. They were actually meaningful, and people got into them and loved them. And so then they became very popular, and so of course the big studios said, this is it, let's make more of that. And so they kept trying to recycle that. And then sometimes they tried to take risks and do something a bit different, and it didn't get the immediate cash payoff that they got from the established thing. And so then they say, okay, let's get back to basics, let's retread the same path. Except they're missing the point, because it's never going to be the same, because now it's just a copy and a remake and a retread of the thing that they've done before. And so now, you know, we've got Avengers Doomsday coming up later this year. They've brought Robert Downey Jr. back to play the villain, because they had him playing the hero for so many years, and they finally killed off that character and then tried some new stuff, and nothing really hit in the same way. And so they couldn't innovate to the point of thinking of something new. They said, the only thing that we know is that Robert Downey Jr. is charismatic enough to carry this franchise, so we'll just have to bring back the same guy. It's like they couldn't learn the lessons from the principles, the base core principles, the first principles which made Iron Man a success. They said, no, we'll just have to bring back the exact same guy. So now, you know, I remember back in 2017, 2018, 2019, the build-up to Infinity War and Endgame, those two big Avengers movies. Everybody in the world was so excited for them. Friends of mine who'd never been into superheroes or sci-fi or any of that stuff were so excited about the new Avengers films, and everybody got so into it, and it was such a big worldwide event going to see those two films. Now with Doomsday coming up, I just feel like it's a massive anticlimax. I just feel, personally, I don't care. I'll go and see it for entertainment. I've been vaguely interested in superheroes since I was a kid. I am a bit more in that sort of nerdy, geeky subculture than the average person, so I find that stuff quite cool and interesting to an extent. But the average person, I just don't think they're going to care as much. And I feel like Doomsday just does not feel as exciting as those events did, those films. On the other hand, we've got the new Spider-Man coming out. And I feel like with that one, Spider-Man's been on so many ups and downs. This is their third time trying it in a new way with a new character, with a new main actor. Obviously the first time round with Tobey Maguire, they got 3 films done. They were going to do a 4th and then they cancelled it. Then they tried with Andrew Garfield. They did 2 films, they were going to do a 3rd, and then they cancelled it. And then they said, let's try again. Something new, something different. Tom Holland, they got an actual teenager to play the teenage character of Spider-Man, which means that he was young enough that when they started that process a decade ago now, he as an actor was young enough to grow up as the films were being made. And so now I think he's just turned 30, so they must have shot this new film when he was like 29, and he's playing Spider-Man in his mid-20s. So they started early enough, they tried something new. They said, let's get an actual teenager to play Spider-Man instead of a guy in his 20s or 30s. And that has allowed them to mature with the character, to make that trilogy of the Spider-Man films with Tom Holland that were more kind of, a bit more whimsical, a bit more kind of teen-based, a bit less dark than the previous trilogies. But now, they've grown up with the character, they've grown up with the actor, and now they can try something different, something more mature. They're bringing in these other characters like the Punisher with Jon Bernthal, and everything I've seen behind the scenes makes it look as though there's some real chemistry between his character and Spider-Man. There's a real chemistry between the actors, and it's starting to look like it's sort of almost a family affair, because you've got Tom Holland and Zendaya, who are married, playing Spider-Man and MJ. You've got, what's his name, Jon Bernthal, who's a very close friend of Tom Holland, playing this character, the Punisher, who he has this interesting dynamic with. And it really feels like it's gone from being this behemoth superhero event to being something very grounded and very personal, made by a group of people who have good chemistry with each other and who really care about what they're creating. So, as a casual superhero fan, I'm just watching all this with interest. I've seen from when I was a kid, and superheroes were this kind of fairly niche thing, but they were starting to become more mainstream as the Tobey Maguire films were coming out. And there was all the promotion for that, and you could see all the magazines and the sticker books for sale in every newsagent, and it was becoming, you know, the action figures, they were becoming more prevalent. And then the kind of boom, I guess, during like the 2010s, with all these massive Avengers movies coming out, and then into the 2020s, where it's kind of started to wane a bit, but like it's still hanging in there. It just doesn't feel as exciting. So now I feel that in 1 year, we've got a Spider-Man film that could be the best ever, and we've got an Avengers film that's hyped to be the biggest ever, but I feel like it will not be, personally. So I'm interested to see where it goes, and I think one way or another, we've just got to keep trying things that actually make sense, and not just falling into the trap of recycling things that have been done before, but seeing what's actually the best thing to do here, and how can we do something new.